Present.
Councilman Fields,
Here.
Councilwoman Miles,
Present.
Councilwoman Nabil,
Present.
Councilman Pete, Vice Mayor Nickerson,
Here.
and Mayor Wood.
I'm here. Sorry. I'm here. I'm here physically and mentally. Let's let's have a moment of silent prayer and meditation. Let's- Amen. I'm gonna lead you now in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. All right. Did anybody have anything for the agenda? Okay. Seeing none. Town manager, do you have anything to add or subtract from the agenda tonight?
No, sir.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, I welcome a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Okay. It's been moved
Second.
and second. All right. Seeing no further discussion, we will call for the question. Councilman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman DeVille,
Aye.
Councilwoman Miles,
Aye.
Vice Mayor,
Yes.
and that's a yes for me. The motion carries 6-0. Next on the agenda is our citizen comment period. This time, if any citizens have any comments, we ask that you raise your hand. We give you 2 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. Until we'll open that up at this time. Okay. We have, okay. All right, Ms. Lofton, the floor is yours.
Good evening, council members. I'm sure by now you've heard there are stirrings and rumblings about the proposed roads project to replace the landfill. Some believe it will bring much needed revenue into the town and jobs. And while that is possible, it may also bring a lot of other unwanted things like increased crime, unbearable traffic, and a decline in the housing market. Besides all that, and with all due respect, I believe the town needs to get its house in order. You have an attorney for hire, not an employee of the town. You've not had a town clerk for quite a while, so I'm happy to see an appointment on the agenda. And the town is still without a police chief since September of last year. We only have an acting chief. The budget being presented tonight is more of an overview than a plan. No line items of GL codes listed to detail the historic and expected revenues and expenses. No real explanation for the items presented. It seems as though everything is lumped together. As a side note, I also believe that governments of any size have two major responsibilities: accountability and transparency. Without them, the entity is susceptible to adverse impacts to its financial future and ultimately its citizens. For example, why are the citizen comments not detailed in your minutes about who spoke and what they asked about? How are you as a council to be held accountable if and when a citizen has valid concerns, and especially if they go unresolved? Internally, the council started a procedure requiring that each of you provide a form if you wanted to add items to the agenda. Yet the form in your package has no date indicated, nor does it indicate who submitted it. How are we as citizens to know who is working hardest for us and who deserves our vote next election? I encourage each of you to prioritize the goals for the next fiscal year and the processes needed to achieve them. Even the last audit apparently had one item that was recommended for changes for how things are done. Has this been addressed? Has it been carried out? I appreciate your time. I know that each of you work very hard for the town. And thank you so much for my time.
All right, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else here to speak for citizen comment time? Raise your hand now. If not, we will close the citizen comment portion of the agenda. Okay. We'll close that portion up. Next on the agenda is the mayor and council comment period. All right, Mr. Brown, do you have any comments tonight?
No comments there.
Okay. Mr. Fields, do you have any comments tonight?
Yes, I do. Good evening, everyone. Those that are watching, and I'm sorry about that. And those who are tuning in, via television or Zoom. We're well into the spring, and we're enjoying our nice weather and continue to watch out for kids and children playing in the neighborhoods as people get more active out in the communities. We've noticed some restrictions being changed from our state government. Please take heed and continue, if you have not, to vaccinate. And if you forgot one shot, please make sure you get your other shot so that we can continue in our process of being healthy and keeping our town healthy and still mask up when, able to do so. Yes, we have had some complaints and citizens' comments and emails going back and forth about our proposed items that are coming up in the near future to better our town. We hear you, and we are concerned about what comments that you make. However, please keep in mind that this entity here, the incorporated town of Dumfries, and let me repeat that, the incorporated town of Dumfries is a separate entity other than the county board of supervisors, your delegate, your state senator, and other delegates that represent this area. We solely control this town. The 6 or 7 that you see on this panel right here, it comes to us. So we hear you, but the final vote is with us, not another elected body. This body right here in this town. So we'll address your concerns as they come about, but please be assured that we have the best interests for our town, and solutions are being done as we speak. Just because there's a lot of typing, just because there's a lot of keyboarding, just because there's a lot of noise being made, it doesn't mean you have a solution. So we work on solutions that best fits the town of Dumfries' progress. Thank you.
All right. Councilwoman Miles, did you have anything?
Yes, I'd like to thank the citizens for tuning in this evening. I'd like to wish all the mothers a happy Mother's Day that's upcoming. I'd like to also thank all of our teachers, as this week is Teacher Appreciation Week. We'd like to thank you for all you've done, especially staying strong throughout this pandemic to educate our children. And I also like to give a special shout out to our very own Councilwoman Neville, who has also put through COVID and everything else that has been thrown at her. So we appreciate your service. Thank you.
All right. Councilwoman Neville.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilwoman Miles. And as we know, like last month, I said a lot of things are represented every month. So I guess during my time, I just want to focus clearly on Mental Health Month. And it's Teacher Appreciation Week and Teacher Appreciation Day. And as a teacher, I have to speak on our behalf. We are dealing with the awkward intersectionality of mental health awareness and the impact of COVID on teachers. Last year, this time, everyone was so thankful for teachers. They praised us, said we deserved all the things, the salaries, the increases. But the truth is, every year, we have to protest and we have to beg as professionals to be paid at least half of what we're worth. You can never pay us what we're worth. But through this pandemic, your teachers have gone through an unsurmountable amount of stress, because by the time school started last year, that narrative had changed and people were mad. People accused teachers of not wanting to work but get a paycheck, and that is not true. Even right now, we've had teachers who risked their lives, and a few involved in education, but I'm focusing on teachers today because it's Teacher Appreciation Week. Some have lost their lives and they still don't have hazard pay. They still don't have a decent salary. Some of us, like myself, I had to change where I was teaching for the sake of my health. And it's serious. So please, if there's nothing else you can do this week, thank a teacher. That's the least they can do, is feel welcome and feel thanked and appreciated for the job they do. No one should ever have to make a decision between their health and their job. And understand that virtual all the time doesn't mean that teachers are home and safe. But I encourage all teachers to be bold and take a stand and protect your lives. Put your safety first. And if you've gone through and experienced any mental health issues, which many of us have, because I feel like everyone is traumatized to a point with this pandemic, please take time for yourself, protect your peace, protect your headspace, and check on your friends. Get help if you need it. It's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to not get help. So with that, I will close my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any comments at this time.
Want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues on Teachers Appreciation Week. I do live with a teacher and just been advocating as well on her behalf, and just the there is I see from my standpoint, there is a thankless sacrifice that teachers do, and it's almost like they're caregivers, they're counselors, they're mentors, they're educators. Sometimes they got to become friends to these kids. So thank you to all the teachers out there who are doing the work of educating while parents or whoever can go out and earn a living at the same time and don't have to do it. And shout out to those who homeschool as well, because homeschool is no joke. So I want to recognize those who do homeschool. I had a cousin that did it for some years. I know another few families that actually homeschool. So shout out to those who do have the patience to homeschool their students. This Sunday is Mother's Day, so I definitely want to give a warm Mother's Day to all of our mothers, all our seniors. Special thoughts go out to all of those this year who are selling Mother's Day on their own this year without their spouses or loved ones out there who they had last year who didn't make it during the pandemic. Also, May 11th, for those of you who don't know, May 11th is when the town of Dumfries was chartered. May 11th, 1749. I think we are coming up on, what is it, 272 years? Yeah, 272 years on May 11th. So it's our anniversary coming up May 11th this month. I think Historic Dumfries may be doing a Charter Day celebration. Check their Facebook feeds and their Instagram feeds and their website to see what they have going on. But Dumfries was a thriving port for about 15 years, and we rivaled Alexandria, but there's a fact that we were the first chartered town in the state of Virginia, and we had some major commerce going in and out of this port. And I do believe at some point along the line that you have a council, we've been creating a vision to get Dumfries back to a place where we are that go-to place that people just don't drive through, but they drive through, because we get back to our original purpose and the original intent, which why Dumfries was incorporated and created back in 1749, May 11th. So shout out to that. And coming up at the end of this month is Memorial Day. Now, most people start thinking of vet on Memorial Day. And I know my veterans on this, it's okay. You don't thank us because Memorial Day is not about the veterans. Okay, Memorial Day is about honoring those who we lost, all our fallen soldiers, all our prisoners of wars, all our soldiers who are missing in action. It's not the time. We have Veterans Day in November, but Memorial Day is that time where we remember those who've gone before. So it's time to just memorialize. So I just wanted all of you during the course of this month don't go around thinking of that. It's a time where we mourn and kind of remember and those ones who went on beyond us. So just wanted to bring those notes to your attention today. Citizens, yes, we hear your comments. We get your feedback, and we are taking action. We are a working council. We don't always go back and maybe bring you results, but we're coming out. We're coming through the neighborhoods. Most of your council people, you can see them out in your community, checking things out. I was in South Cole yesterday myself, even looking at some of them trucks parked down there, having those conversations. I've been over looking through the parks and stuff. So I think you got a council who's very active and working in the community. Everybody is out and everybody has concerns. So we don't take your comments and your concerns lightly. As far as economic development, Route 1 widening project has become and has been for the last few years our #1 project, not just because we want to mitigate traffic, but because it's important for the economic development and us being able to reclaim Main Street and to be able to make Main Street into a thriving downtown district for Dumfries. The roles is going to become an intricate part in an intricate conversation in the discussion as far as being able to attract businesses, because you need something to anchor to be able to bring in. And so I personally have talked to folks over in Prince George's County elected, those who've been a part of developing National Harbor and out doing a lot of due diligence. So when the time comes to make a decision, I'm pretty sure everyone will vote their conscience. And yes, there is an election that will be happening November next year. Everybody has the opportunity to exercise their voice and to stand in the gap to represent their community the best way they see fit. So those are my remarks and my comments tonight. Next on the agenda, we will move into our action items. And our first action item on the agenda is going to be an ordinance to appropriate funds for FY 2022 from the general fund. Town Manager, Mr. Rogers, good evening, sir. The floor is now yours.
Thank you, Mayor. So items A, B, and C under action items are related to the fiscal year 22 budget, as well as the corresponding capital improvement plan and the fee schedule. The ordinance for the general fund budget, as well as the capital improvement plan, has been duly and appropriately advertised. Last month, the Planning Commission recommended unanimously approval of the capital improvement plan. Presentations from my public meeting, as well as the CIP presentation, have been posted on the town budget webpage with a citizen comment form. And so tonight, following the public hearing, we are looking for a motion to approve the budget before you.
Good evening. I'd like to make a motion, please.
Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve items A, B, and C, but I'd like to add the following amendments for consideration on the approval. I'd like to request that the town manager prepare necessary legislation to make the following adjustments to the governing body and boards and commission agencies to include council increase to 15K, vice mayor to 16K, and the mayor to 18K. Also for the boards and commissions, estimate an increase of the meeting stipends to $100 per meeting per participant.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, I think the motion would be in order, but you do have to hold the public hearing. So let's make sure that occurs before.
So yeah, you have to, we'll have discussion and then we'll open up the public hearing and then you can make your motion on the ordinance. Is that okay, Vice Mayor?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. Would anybody else have any discussion or comments about the agenda? About the 3 items that the town manager just put up: the fee schedule, the budget, and what was the third one? The capital improvement plan, capital improvement budget.
Yes. Do we need to hold 3 separate public hearings, or are we holding one lump public hearing? Are we lumping them all at the same time?
I think we can do it.
I would recommend having one public hearing.
Yeah, so people can chime in. Okay. All right.
A
So
budget question.
yes, ma'am.
So on page 47, under the governing body, General Heiser Boys and Girls Club is there. Under governing body,
You're looking at the budget document.
yes. Unless something's been changed since I have this printed. From what I see though, the Boys and Girls Club is under governing body.
Okay.
And I'm
Which,
raising awareness to it because I need an explanation. I don't understand why it's there under governing body.
oh, it's in. That's the location it's sitting in.
Yeah, so if you look at page 47,
Okay. All right. Town manager.
Yes, Mayor, if I may, the Boys and Girls Club, the line item for Boys and Girls Club represents the annual appropriation that council makes to the Boys and Girls Club. It is listed under the governing body because that's where it had been historically located, and it is separate from any other grant process that the town may have. So that's why it's listed there.
I don't understand why it's there, and I would like to see it somewhere else because it's not part of the governing body. You know, even when we go back to community partner grant program, I had a question about that because I don't recall seeing the awardees from this fiscal year, but it's still not, I mean, maybe someone else has some information they can share. I don't believe that the Boys and Girls Club donation belongs in governing body in that section.
Yeah, I thought we had it in the boards and commissions in the past. I don't know off the top of my head. What is a place? What section of the budget do you think it belongs, Councilwoman? I'm pulling up the budget now. So
Okay, and you know what, Mayor, you're right. I think at one point, because the town had seats and the town funded a seat, and so that would have put it under that boards and commissions. But I mean, just looking, maybe administration, I don't think that donation, but maybe it should go, because I had asked the last meeting, the last council meeting for the line items, and I'm still gonna ask those today, the line items showing where the farmer's market is funded, because that's very important as a food desert. I'd like to know where the funding is coming from and to make sure we can fund a market manager for the farmer's market. So not to jump too far ahead of myself, but that's a question coming up with the questions I have. But wherever this information is, I feel like it should be under the same section with our donations, just like our donation to the $1,000 for the Friends of the Dumfries Slave Cemetery. And going back to what you said, Mayor, during that time, it was under boards and commissions, but then it had moved to another location. I don't have a copy of the budget from 2 fiscal years prior in front of me right now, but I don't believe it was with governing body.
It's been with the governing body for the previous 2 fiscal years.
So I don't think it belongs under governing body now. So I don't feel comfortable voting for the budget right now. I'd like to see it move somewhere.
So I guess when we close the public hearing, if you want to make a motion, you're welcome to make a motion. All right. Is there any other discussion about anything else on the any of the budget documents, the capital improvement plan, or the fee schedule? Okay, Councilwoman DeVille, floor still is.
Yes, Mayor, I would still like to see information and amounts for the farmer's market. If I can at least be told where those line items are to be found and how much money would go towards a farmer's market, I'd appreciate that.
Yes, Mayor, if I may. As I said at the presentation, we are exploring, as you see, another item this evening related to the acquisition of a property, and we intend to use the CARES Act funding to support the acquisition of the property as well as services, which may include a farmer's market for the operation of the farmer's market. Additionally, in future years, the line item in community development, which is titled Destination Dumfries, will be used to support those ongoing efforts.
So how much money are we, well, one, I need clarification. So are we definitely going to have a farmer's market the upcoming fiscal year? And if so, how much money? It sounds like it would be coming from CARES funding. So I'm just asking for clarity. So if we know, hey, Sydney, we're going to use $20,000 CARES funding towards farmer's market, and I'm saying it hypothetically right now because I'm asking for clarity.
Yes, ma'am. We don't have a specific dollar amount as we're getting approval to enter into the contract for the property tonight. So we don't have a exact amount yet, but those are the funding sources. So as soon as a dollar amount for that specific use is available, I'll be happy to provide that.
Okay, are there any other questions on the budget documents, the fee schedule, or the capital improvement plan? I just have one on the capital improvement plan. I guess when it comes to the parks, Mr. Rogers, I guess in that, will it be will we be able to see like what an end game would be, like kind of like a plat, like what the builders and everybody bring? Will we be able to see kind of like have a big picture of what the end picture looks like for I guess some of the designs, so that we know where we're going or when is the finale, when is complete? You
Yes,
understand the question I'm asking? I'm trying to.
yes, sir. And the answer is yes.
Okay. So we're going to see it in this fiscal year, or?
So this fiscal year, it was just to establish the fund, but we're going to prepare a presentation on capital improvement projects just to give council an update on all of the existing projects in the coming months. And so that will kind of detail any plans. Nothing will be constructed or anything major like that will happen until that is presented to the council. So that's why I said I could answer that question confidently, yes.
Okay. All right. That was all I had. Councilwoman Miles.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I actually, Mr. Rogers, I do have a question to just following up on Councilwoman Neville's point about the farmer's market. They say in the future it will be taken out of the destination Dumfries line item. But to me, it sounds like as of now, it is not in the budget. If it's contingent upon what is left over in the CARES Act funding, it sounds like it's up in the air. Is this item in the budget as of now? Because it just seems like if we don't have a solid line where it's nailed down, is this item budgeted?
My explanation was we are making the plans to prepare to have a site and a location for the farmers market. So that's the item related to the Triangle Rescue Squad that's on the action item.
Okay.
So once we get, can secure that property and put the partners in place to do that, then I can give the council a specific budget on that. So yes, we will use CARES Act funding. And as I mentioned, it's not contingent upon anything other than us putting the program together. And as soon as I have that together, I will provide the total cost for that. But no, there's no concern that there's not funding available to operate it. I just don't have the specific dollar value yet, just simply because we're just not there quite yet.
Okay. But I mean, do we have an estimated figure?
I really don't want to estimate at this stage. We need to secure the property, which is what we're making the preparations to do tonight. And as soon as I have that figure, I would definitely provide it. But I would hesitate to estimate at this time frame.
Okay.
All right. I guess if we can note and bring Councilman Pete into the up to the dais to join us. In the audience, let's see. We got it, or did we lose him? Councilwoman Neville, did you have any follow-up questions before we move on to the open?
It might help if I unmute myself. So just one last thing, because this food desert situation is very real. We only have one grocery store, access to fresh food. And even with one, because there used to be another one, that was long ago, and most people won't even remember that. But access to fresh food is important when we have a very walkable community and many people walk. So I take this farmer's market situation until we can get another grocer here. very seriously. So I would like some confirmation and a clarification that in the June Town Council meeting, being the first Tuesday of June, we can be updated with information as far as a farmer's market, regardless of how the building goes, because we have parks and these walkable areas where we can set this up. We can coordinate with the state government to make it available for those who use EBT cards during these times. I cannot stress how imperative this is at this time. And I'm trying not to get worked up on it, but this is very serious. So I certainly hope that we can have a clear update on the farmer's market. And having started a farmer's market before, I would be more than welcome to help or point out any resources and connections I'm familiar with that run farmers markets all over the state. So this is very important. And I just wanted to chime back in to say that. So I hope we can have this clarified the next time we have a council meeting in June. Thank you. And I mean a real town council meeting, not the work session, just to be clear. Thanks.
Question on the performance measures. So how will we be kind of like updated and tracked on the performance measures in the budget? As far as like, so this Councilwoman DeVille brought up a point with food desert and things like that. And I was just thinking, she doesn't know, we have somebody else trying to open up a small market grocery store. And I know one of our performance measures is like a 14-day turn time and stuff like that. Like, how will we be updated kind of like on a monthly basis on how we're meeting or how we're tracking the performance measures that we placed in the budget?
In the upcoming fiscal year, the tracking of the performance measures will be incorporated in my monthly report.
Okay. All right. So we'll know. All right. All right. Councilman Pete, I can see him, but I can't see him. I see his name, but I don't see his face. So I just wanted to bring him in before I open up the public hearing to get him there. All right. Let's see if I can see his face. See his name. Councilman Pete, can you see us? Because we can't see you or hear you. Okay, there he is. All right, let's note Councilman Pete is in the meeting, please, Lisa, for our minutes. Councilman Pete, did you have any questions on the budget before we open up the public hearing? No? Okay. All right, so we're gonna move to our public hearing at this time. Seeing no further discussion. Is there anyone, citizens in the audience that have any questions, concerns, or anything they want to make comment about the budget, the fee schedule, and the capital improvement plan? Our public hearing is now open. Okay, Ms. Lawson, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I hope I am not the only citizen here tonight that is willing to speak, but I appreciate the time, as always. Just kind of going back on some of the comments about the farmers market. I do want to echo Councilwoman Neville and Councilwoman Miles's questions, because it's really not, you know, you don't have to recreate the wheel. There are so many local jurisdictions that already have them running. You know, maybe it's 20,000, maybe it's 10,000, but by now I know, having attended several meetings, this has come up, and it is disappointing that there is no specific details, and it's like the can is kicked down the curb a bit. I have no doubt that Mr. Rogers will do his best to respond to this concern. I guess the other thing I do agree with and I support, not that you need my support, Vice Mayor Nickerson's I guess amendment suggestion about increasing, for lack of a better term, the pay or stipend to the town council. I think you all absolutely deserve that, as well as the boards and commissions. The only real concern I have, again, as I mentioned in my citizens time, is looking at, and I went back to 14, 15, 16, 17, all of the budgets previously presented. Me having a financial background, were a bit, in my opinion, more transparent, particularly with your geocodes and your specific details and explanations. I think the attempt was to streamline the look and feel of the budget, but it's not as good for a layperson to understand where is the money going. Is there a surplus? Is there a deficit? How is the cash moved in the town over the last few years historically? So that would just be my particular concern. And more specifically, I think it's great that some of the I guess all of the employees are at least getting a cost of living allowance, but I think one of the performance measures might be great to do a comprehensive and objective study of the pay of Dumfries employees. How does it measure up with local municipalities of this size, particularly if the average median income is 63,000? Are our town employees getting somewhere near that for, or average? And I think the capital improvement plan, I echo the mayor's comments or questions. I think it is pretty much well drawn out. And as far as the fee schedule, surprised to see how much is collected for cigarettes, but otherwise, I appreciate your time and thank you so much for your service to our community. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Lofton, for your comments. Were there any other citizens comments in regards to the budget, the fee schedule, and our capital improvement plan? If there is no further discussion, we will close out our public hearing at this time. All right, council, any further questions or concerns here? Citizen comment, Councilwoman DeVille.
Yeah, so apparently I lied last time. I forgot. I think it was back in January. I had asked about outsourcing, having a contractor or just a third party conduct a demographic study for the town and a needs assessment. And is there any funding allowed in the budget to do that? As a third party, any funding to have a needs assessment conducted in town?
So not a compensation study, but a needs assessment?
A needs
as far
assessment.
as what space needs or what type of needs?
Just the needs of our people. I think it's a good idea. And I think that kind of information would drive the next budget. I think it's something that we should do once a year. I believe that was in January. I had mentioned that, having a needs assessment done. And so I'm curious to see, and I think it needs to be a third party, just conducting an overall needs assessment so we can grasp a snapshot of what our citizens want, what their desires are, what their needs are, because as far as reaching out to them, getting that information, we see, and I'm so thankful for Ms. Lofton tuning in and actively participating and engaging in every meeting, but we're growing. I don't know the number, but we have citizens that have actually moved into the town, the apartment complex down the street, and then we got the townhomes coming. So it would be nice to know what the needs of the people are. And I think that is doing our due diligence to the people who we serve, who could one day be sitting on this council. So I do believe that we need a needs assessment. And I'm asking if any information and if any research has been done to see how much that would cost for the size of our town, our small community here. And is it covered in this budget? If not, that is something that I definitely would like to see in this budget.
Yeah, I think it falls in line with, we've been talking about in town manager, you can tell me where it's at, but that's where we talked about the surveys and surveying the community to get input on our budget and when we write our budget. And I do think you put something in there for that somewhere, right? In,
Yes, there's funding to support community survey.
okay.
How much funding is that? Is it for a third party to do like a needs assessment?
I'm not sure what needs assessment means. Most communities do a community survey to get satisfaction and ideas. They also utilize planning processes like this one to get that information, but it is done by a third party, and that's within the administration budget.
So with the research you've done, is this a group that could conduct a needs assessment? I mean,
Yeah, there's several. Like at most of the conferences, like National League of City, VML, they have vendors that set up that professionally do this, and we just have to decide which company that we go with. But there are plenty of companies that's always calling or email trying to solicit. Even at the, I'm pretty sure at the ICM at the town managers conferences that he goes to, there are plenty of people out there who just do that service for municipalities. So it's readily available. I've talked to personally 3 or 4 different vendors who do that.
so I mean, and I'm sure some of you, especially in master's classes, have taken the wonderful statistics courses and everything. So I just want to make sure I'm really specific about a needs assessment study and how much money is in the budget for that. Because when I hear survey and then I hear we're not sure what the needs assessment is, I'm kind of concerned that that is actually allocated in the budget. And I do feel that when we have a performance-based budget, to know how we're meeting those stated measurements that you had asked about, Mayor, and some others that we haven't talked about, how we know all of them without following up with the people who are the top of our organizational chart. So I'd like to know how much is there. And I don't know if it's broken down by how much time, or maybe there was an RFP put out, people came back, different companies and said, hey, I'll do it for this or that. I am familiar with needs assessment studies. So I do think it's very important that we get on track with doing one in our town annually. And I don't know, I like to hear what the other council members think. Someone may think we don't need to do that at all. What is she talking about? But I would like to make sure that's covered. And since you mentioned it's already there, how much is there? That's what I want to know.
Mayor, if I may, I think we're conflating a lot of different things right now. I think that I was requested to make sure a community survey was done. That is in the budget. This is a plan. The fiscal year starts in July. We don't have specific dollar amounts for every single thing that we're going to do for the next 12 months, but within the administration department, we're going to ensure that a third party conducts a community survey in addition to the performance measures that we put in this budget for that reason, so that there can be regular monthly reports on how we are performing. We will solicit feedback and have public hearings on everything that we do. So I'm happy to get specific details about needs assessment or whatever we would like to call our engagement with the community. But this is at this juncture the best that I can speak on that subject at this hour.
Yeah, I think the survey was the language we gave them in the goals, when we wrote up the goals that we gave.
So
them.
it looks like this might be that outside plan review, that $25,000. Is that?
No,
We're conflating
Okay.
a lot of separate things right now, and I don't want anybody to get confused. Outside plan review are for land use applications. I was asked to do a community survey, and so community survey is what we will do. I don't know the different terminologies. I respect them all, but I don't want to conflate multiple things right now. So we will do a community survey, and that is included.
Okay, so it sounds like, and it is different than just like the different names and different words have meaning. So I do understand what you're saying. I appreciate your honesty and that feedback, town manager. However, I do think it's important, like I would like to actually understand some things. And yes, I'm asking this question tonight, and the budget does not have to be approved tonight. But I'm asking those questions because I would like to know that there is a concept or idea, even if it's just your community survey, what is being spent. And so I can only imagine if a citizen is looking at our proposed budget, when you have numbers that are grouped together, someone may, and they have a right to ask, just like I do, what is the specific amount for this particular thing? And that's all I'm asking right now. And it is a difference. I want to make sure we all understand. Asking a question doesn't mean you're being argumentative. I just want to know what's going on with the budget. I would like to have a needs assessment survey. And those of us citizens watching at home, some of us here who haven't spoken yet, you know, there's a difference between different types of surveys. And I'm not going to give a TED talk on that tonight. But when we put things together, and I'm not saying that's necessarily a wrong way to do things or a right way to do things, but we have a right to ask questions and see how much that is. And if we don't know tonight, I would like to have a follow-up even for your community survey. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Councilwoman Miles.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I don't want to add any confusion to this because I do think that we are knocking around terms. I do have the notes from our meeting, and I have the email that we have from there, and it does look like we did request a needs assessment. So I don't know whether a needs assessment and a community survey, perhaps they, you can use those terms interchangeably. I would imagine that they are very similar. I'm not familiar with the term a community survey. I think community survey, to me, when I hear community survey, that's very self-individualistic driven. But when I hear needs assessment, I hear that, to me, I feel like that's done by professionals that come in and do a very professional assessment. So to me, in my mind, I think that those are two very different things. But perhaps they are used interchangeably. So Mr. Rogers, so with a community survey, is that something that's individualistic where the community is like filling that out online and they're doing like, is that, are we speaking the same language here, or are those two different things? Because it does look like we did, in fact, say needs assessment.
If it would please the council, can we discuss this so I can go ahead and put together the information and discuss this at a future meeting?
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yes.
I don't want to add to the confusion. I want to make sure I'm confident that we'll do everything that was intended. I just don't want to add to any confusion. So if it's okay with you, if we can, I wrote down that all of the notes from this conversation, and we can discuss what that looks like at a future meeting.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Is there anyone else who had any other discussion on the budget before we allow the vice mayor to make her motion? Okay. All right. Okay. I think, is that you, Councilman Peter? Are you trying to say something? All right, the floor. All right, the floor is yours.
Here. Oh, yes. I just want to make sure we clear that we're going to have this park and recreations up in the budget so we can move forward with that and everything, because I just want to make sure we're moving in the right direction and steps as we talk anything budgetary.
All right, so are you making a motion for something, or are you asking a question to the town manager?
Well, I just want to know where is it at in the budget, and how are we going to present that? Just where we at, what type of money we're using there, what's going to be allocated in that direction, and just see where we are. If we can go back to the discussions and see if we can bring that to another meeting, as well as the with the other discussions of the budget. I think that we'll be able to bring this out in the way we need to. So I believe there's a lot of discussion that we need to go into with this budgetary item. So that's just where I'm at. Not looking to approve anything tonight, because I just really do believe that we just have to have some more discussion with this before we move forward.
I mean, it's the only thing on the agenda right now, so it's before we go into the lease and the closed session. So What is it? Town manager, I guess, are you two tracking on
Yes,
with his?
I understand what you're saying, Councilman Pete, and we'll bring something back for a future meeting. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so what we just closed out on, just to give everybody, was we had a public hearing for our budget ordinance to appropriate funds for FY22. And Ms. Pandek, correct me, when do we have to have our budget approved by?
Oh, that's a good question. I believe by July 1st. I didn't look up that question. You're different then because you don't have schools, so it's a little later. I'm sure that the town manager recalls.
Yeah, by Code of Virginia is June 30th. That's the statutory last day, not best practice. That's the last day.
All right. Okay. All right. So any other discussion? I want to understand what I guess Councilman Pete, what are you looking for? Because I know you say you're not ready to do anything with the budget until. Did we lose him? All right, Mr. Rogers, I guess what are y'all? Because I'm trying to get
This is
understanding.
not really a budget discussion. I will bring having conversations with Councilman Pete, and so we will bring something back to the council for action once once we've had time to discuss and have something appropriate to bring back. I'm happy to work with the councilman on that. I don't think that it's germane to the ordinances this evening.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see where we, like I said, where the money is, where we at, how much we working with, because I don't know anything.
Okay. All right. Any Councilwoman DeVille?
I'm so sorry because less is more, and I try not to speak a lot during these things anymore. But this is the budget, and usually all of my friends and comrades who serve in their local jurisdictions, on their councils, their boards. We all know it's budget season. Most people are worked up, stressed, putting extra time on this. But I do feel that we may need to have a good, not to go back to the past all the time, but a special budget meeting where we're going over each line like we did in the past. As a council member, if I am walking on Ginn Park and someone was to ask me about something in the budget, I should be able to have a knowledge, understanding. It seems like to me tonight we have some questions. And I can speak for myself and say, I feel this conversation, there are quite a few questions. I'm sure if we spent more time, there would be even more questions. And I don't feel comfortable to vote on this budget tonight because I have other questions that I'm just holding. And that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, because I feel like there's a notion of asking questions. There's a different energy that comes. I just want some answers. That's all. Like, show me the line items. Show me the line item where, market, the farmer's market, or, okay, it's not there, it's coming from CARES. But I feel like it may do us some good if we had a meeting similar to, as we have done in the past, where we go over budget page by page to make sure everyone has a basic understanding of everything that's going on and questions are answered. And at the end of the day, I just can't vote on a budget, but, we're going to talk about that and clarify this or that later on. So I like those questions answered. And I understand some of these questions, we're just asking tonight. And some were asked previously, but I think we should go through that and be transparent about it during a special budget meeting. That is what I like to say. And I'd also like to go on the record saying that although I'm not comfortable moving the budget forward without an open special budget meeting tonight, that I do agree with what the vice mayor has stated at the beginning part of this conversation. So I just want to be clear on that before we take this vote to order, and hopefully we vote on all these items separately. But I do feel we need to have at least one day. When we know in the past, we may have between 4 or more special called budget meetings, and we haven't had one. And I think we should have at least one and go over page by page, line by line, to make sure we all understand. And those are just my thoughts. And I'm seriously done talking about this item tonight.
Are you wanting to go through all the revenue and the expenditures? Or are you concerned about the expenditures? I just want to get clarity.
The expenditures, I think we need to go over that. And I think that was more during your time, you know, I was a staff member, you know, but you were on the council and you all would take the time to go over the budget to make sure there was total clarity. Everyone knew what was going on. It was like a special called work session for the budget. And we would get through this and comb through it, and everyone has that understanding of things going on. And I'm just speaking for myself right now, but I would like to see us have one of those meetings to just go through, because I cannot go. And what I'm talking about, a needs assessment, it might be $10,000, which is minuscule in comparison to the whole picture for this budget, right? But I cannot vote in favor of the budget right now without having answers to that question, you know, a plan for the farmer's market. So not just numbers, but narrative. And I'm saying this as someone who has put together and worked on a budget before to the tune of close to 400,000, you know, in the community. So I can't, but I do want to reiterate that I totally agree and support what Vice Mayor proposed. Thank you.
All right, so we can, and let me ask the town manager this before I make the statement. I mean, we have the capability right now to just pull up the expenditures and to be able to just go through that budget line item and to be able to answer questions on the expenditures. Are we in a position to pull that up and to show that to the council so that they can get all their expenditure questions? Because if it's just the expenditures, it starts on page 38 and goes down on it. If we could take a 5-minute, yes, Councilwoman DeVille.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. I think we need, well, it needs to be its own meeting where we come together, and that you just asked me about the expenditure, so I don't know what the rest of the council thinks, but I think it should be a separate meeting where we can all have our specific questions ready and be ready to ask them during that session. That's just what I think, but you know, you did just only ask me that question, so I don't know how everybody else feels about that. I was just speaking for myself, but that is something I do want to see.
Okay, let me just know, quick, Councilman Brown.
So I tried to be silent on this, but so there's several concerns that I have about the voting for the budget tonight. It appears that we have some programs and projects that we wanted to see line items in that we don't see. And I don't have any suggestions or recommendations for the line items, but some of these things are coming at I guess a surprise that they're not there. We had time to review the budget prior to this meeting. We also had time to propose what that particular project or that program would look like to Mr. Rogers so that he could include it in the budget as a line item. So I'm not defending the town manager or not trying to negate what any of the councilmen or councilwomen has stated, but this is a team effort here. But just because of the conversation and the questions that arose between tonight, I don't think we're ready to sign off on this budget. That's my take. And now, I don't know what the consequence of not signing it tonight. So Mr. Rogers, if you can give me, do we have more time for this? If we have more time, we should take more time to do this. And that's just my take on it.
Thank you, Councilman Brown. Let me see if I can maybe address everything with my comments. One, we presented the budget over 30 days ago. And when in that presentation, I went through the detailed programs of all the revenues, all the expenditures. That presentation is available on the website, just like the budget. We have a line item budget. the line items are listed in the expenditure for each agency. The questions that came up tonight, and this is not being critical, there was the first time that I heard most of the questions that were asked tonight. So if I say I don't have a specific dollar amount for a project, it's simply because we just have not made it there. This budget is our plan for our next 12 months, and the capital improvement plan is our plan for the next 5 years. So I can't tell you how much a survey, for example, is going to cost exactly. I could throw out a ballpark figure, but there's no reason to do that if I can tell you confidently, once we get this plan approved, that it'll be, $7,000. So it's not that the answers can't be provided. I just didn't have the questions in advance to prepare to provide a specific dollar value. I think the important part to understand tonight is that the funding is available for the projects that have come up this evening. So I don't believe that there are projects that the council has discussed this evening where there has not been any accommodation for. So I don't want anybody to walk away from the conversation thinking that there's been no accommodation for what I heard this evening. Additionally, what I would say is, anytime you're doing a strategic plan, it is imperative to get that plan in place so that you can work it. I mean, a number of the projects that we talked about tonight, we're talking about my staff and I being able to be dynamic in response to the needs of the council. Even with the amendment this evening, we're able to respond quickly to the council's concerns, but without a plan, that leaves us in limbo. So statutorily, yes, you have until June 30th to adopt the budget. But a dynamic community, a destination place, communities don't wait until June 30th to adopt that budget. Frankly, taking additional time at this juncture will only delay the work that my staff and I have to do, not only for the remainder of this fiscal year, but to prepare to hit the ground running for July 1 with the plan that we have in place. I have confidence that if you give me a few hours for the rest of this week to give you specific dollar values on some of these projects, I can provide that, and I'll be happy to report that to the council. So I hope that provided some clarity this evening. The other thing that I would say is, your budget is your plan. So just like the motion tonight, everything is not as simple as let's put a few dollars over here for it. There are other steps that go into place. Sometimes additional legislation is required. So in order to be dynamic and responsive to the needs of the council, we have a process now that the town has undertaken over the past 3 years where we can in fact be dynamic to the needs of the council and the community and respond in real time if new needs arise or if questions arise. So I think we're on the right track. I would encourage us not to try to revert to years past, because that's why we had not been in that position before. So we're on the right path. I'm happy to do whatever is council's pleasure, but I hope that provided some clarity as to how we can operate and move forward successfully.
Mr. Brown, did that answer your question?
So the disconnect is line items, because where I come from and what I know about budget approval is that when that line item is there, that means I have the funding to run my program and my project. And so I'm not debating anything you said, but I think from some of the council women and Councilman Pete, they're looking at, if we say we're going to do this, how much money is there so we can now rally around that particular price point on what we can expect and what the citizens can expect from that particular program. So that's my disconnect. That's my personal disconnect. Now, if I'm looking at this budget different from my budget in my other job, then there's just a conflict with the way I see things in my perspective. So that's, I think, is the real disconnect here tonight.
So I want to say, because
that's a great point. But to use an example, for example, to talk about the farmers market, we're planning to move on that this year. So there's a line item that can support that ongoing into fiscal year 22. But I heard loud and clear that that's a priority right now. We need to move this year. So that's not you don't see that in the fiscal year 22 budget, because I'm trying to make that happen right now. So, it's those types of conversations that I feel like are maybe causing the confusion and, like you said, the disconnect. But we're kind of on different sheets of music. I feel like when it comes to that, because we have an item tonight right now to move forward with the contract to acquire property so that we can do the things that we talked about right now. So that's why you don't see a specific something set up specific for this future year, because I'm trying to get these things that the council asks of me done as quickly and as efficiently, being a good steward as possible. And so that's what I'm saying. This process is designed so that my staff and I can be responsive to those needs and do those things. And sometimes in a meeting where I didn't have the opportunity to prepare, I might not have a dollar value, but at the end of the week, if council approves this other line item, I will have some detail and tell you where it came from. There is no secret. But I just got a bunch of questions tonight that I did not have information on, and it's more than just saying pointing here or pointing there. It's a multi-step process for a lot of these things.
So, and I just want to speak to the past, the budget narrative versus what we've done now in accordance with moving with the best practices on the Government Finance Association. A budget narrative has been in the past a little bit restrictive for staff to get things done because it is so detailed. Being the founding member, the founding chairman of the Parks and Recs Commission, creating a budget narrative was very restrictive, because when you write that narrative, you can't deviate unless you come back again to the council to deviate from a narrative. A budget, the way we have it written now, as the town manager said, it gives the town manager the freedom to say, okay, we have administrative in the middle of the year. Okay, we didn't fund this position, or we got this amount of money, but it's in the admin department, right? So now I have money in the admin department. Let's use this money on this program that the council wants. But if you have a narrative, now it makes it very restrictive to that point, because it's very, and that's what I found it being very restrictive in the past, the narrative, which is why I push for us to get the budget awards and to kind of move to a performance-based budget, because it all has performance measures versus being very restrictive. So I'm more of a fan of a budget in a lump sum format, where we have performance measures, where we have these type of goals, rather than a narrative. But that's just me, and that's where I'm at. I hear everybody's asking for something different, but the narrative was very much restrictive to me, and I don't know. And Mr. Rogers, just help me know if I explain the difference in the two to the best on the best practice. Go ahead.
Well, I would just add, and terminology matters to the
Yeah.
public. The town of Dumfries has a line item budget.
Yeah.
And so those terminologies don't necessarily mean, a lot to depending on what you're looking for. But I don't want anybody to walk away thinking that there's some sort of.
Well, when they say line item, they mean it like when you look at admin and you see all the staff lumped in. They don't see staff broken out one by one, or they don't see. So I just want to give you their definition.
Yeah, the previous way the budget was done was just not best practice, but we still have a line item budget. And what I mean by dynamic is you have several different programs and your needs change throughout the year, just like when you manage your household, manage your private business. And so you put your plan in place. And we spend money according to the planned areas and the planned line items that we have within the budget. But a prime example, we just came out of a pandemic. No, that was, some people might say you should have known that something like that could happen, but we had to make adjustments in order to do that. That's what these budgets allow us to do, to make adjustments, to continue to provide the services. When you tinker with that, then you, like, as you said, Mayor, you jeopardize your ability to be nimble and respond to what may come up throughout the year.
Okay. All right, Councilman Fields, did you have anything Continue going around. We heard from Brown.
All right, look, before we approve the meetings, I mean, the minutes, not the minutes, before we approve the agenda of this meeting, a lot of these questions could have been asked before we approved it. We approved it, now it's time to go forward with a vote. All these questions could have been asked earlier, and they were not. Any preparation that you needed or anything that you needed from the town manager could have been asked earlier. We had a month to go over the budget. Do your homework before you come to the meeting. It wasn't done. For the past 2 years, have we not won awards on our budgets? For the past 2 years, have we had any problem of anything missing in our budgets? The answer is no. Because we have a staff that we pay darn good money to do the job to make sure our town is moving forward. We ain't going backwards, not one step. So what's all the nitpicking for? Cut this stuff out. Do your homework before you come to the meeting. Ask the questions before the agenda is approved, and we won't be sitting here an hour going round and round and round again. I'm tired of it. I don't want a meeting that we're going through item line by line by line by line. For what? You can read it for your darn self. It's already there. So let's stop kicking the can down the road and get to business.
Okay. And I think before I come to you, Councilwoman, I think the only one I hadn't heard from was the vice mayor. So I'll come around. Just wanted to give everybody an opportunity to speak on it. Vice Mayor?
I'd like to move forward with the vote. And I
You
appreciate,
ready to call
yes,
for the question?
and I appreciate your explanation, offering some additional comprehension to the style of the budget and the benefits of it versus being trapped in a narrative that lessens the flexibility.
Okay. All right. I guess Councilwoman Miles, you had something else to add before Vice Mayor's ready to call for the question.
I do. I just want to put out there that the questions that I have tonight were in no way a critique of the budget. I voted in support of the budget since the town manager has been here. When the town manager responded to the questions, the way I interpreted his answers, I had a concern that it would affect a project that is important to the town. So I wanted to clarify that it would not impact it. I just want to put out that we are all well within our rights to ask questions if we have questions. It's not a reflection of not doing homework. Not that this is a classroom, but since the analogy was put out that, we have to do homework, if you go to school and you do your homework, when you come to class the next day, if you still have questions, you have every right to ask questions for clarification. And that is a part of due diligence and, being good stewards of the citizens' money and making sure that projects are carried out correctly. It's not a reflection of not being adequately prepared or not, doing your job correctly. So I think that we all have to keep in mind that we are 7 different individuals. We all see things 7 different ways. And the reason we have been so successful is because we all represent 7 different aspects and we make sure that we cover things from different perspectives. So I think it's important that we keep it respectful. And we make sure that in order to, continue to do the town's business, we continue to ask questions when we have questions. Thank you.
All right. Vice Mayor?
Can I move forward with my motion now?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Shall I repeat it?
Yes, because we went into a public hearing and then we came out of a public hearing.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all.
I make a motion to approve items A, B, and C, considering the following amendments to request the town manager to prepare the necessary legislation to make the adjustments to the governing body and boards and commission agencies to include council increases to $15,000, vice mayor to $16,000, and mayor to $18,000. And for the boards and commissions to increase meeting stipends to $100 per meeting.
Okay, so that's in the form of. Okay, it's been motioned by the vice mayor, second by Councilman Fields. All right, any discussion on her motion from the council? Okay. Okay, Councilwoman DeVille?
Yes, I do have one question because the motion stated 15,000 and I want clarification on what the 15,000 was, or was it 1,500 per month?
Thank you for that. 15,000 does sound nice, but realistically, we're looking at 1,500. No, actually, we're looking at annual. That's annual.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah.
it is
I
1,000.
was like, wait a second. Okay, okay. So annual, okay, got it. All right. All right, seeing no further discussion, I will call for the motion made by the Vice Mayor as stated, second by Councilman Fields. All right, Councilman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Fields,
Yes.
Councilman Pete,
At this moment, no.
okay, Councilwoman Miles,
Aye.
Councilwoman DeVille,
Nay.
okay, Vice Mayor,
Yes.
and that's a yes for me. I think the motion carries. Is that 5-2, Lisa? So let me make sure I got the math.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, yes, 5-2.
5-2.
all right. All right, motion carries 5-2. All right, next on the agenda, do you guys need a quick stretch break? I just want to check in with y'all.
Yes, please.
Okay, everybody shaking their head, yes. All right, I have 8:20, can y'all come back at 8:25? It's 8:18, it gives you 7 minutes, okay, 8:25. So we'll go in for a quick stretch break in accordance to our healthy eating, active living resolution. I was checking to see if dinner was, but because I wasn't here, it's nothing for me. All right, let's hopefully everybody was able to stretch, refresh. All right, next on our agenda is a resolution to authorize the town manager to execute a purchase agreement for real property at 3800 Grand Park Road. Town manager, the floor is now yours again.
Thank you, Mayor. So the resolution that is before you is to authorize me to execute the purchase agreement for 3800 Grand Park Road. As previously discussed, this is the former Triangle Rescue Squad property. We are planning to utilize CARES Act funding, or let me not use that acronym. We are planning to use federal assistance funds to support the acquisition of this property. The contract that is before you is ready to be executed. I would like to point out that the town will have a 45-day due diligence period, in which time we will make sure that the site and improvements are suitable for our acquisition. And we will then move forward with utilizing the property as we previously discussed, most immediately as a vaccination site, a testing site, food distribution. We also discussed farmers market and other uses that I will provide further detail on once we are able to close on the actual property.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. In this, so is it your due diligence? That means this is not an as-is type of purchase. Do they fix things associated? Is that what I'm hearing with this, or is this as-is purchase?
This is an as-is purchase. However, we have a diligence period which is standard for acquisition of real property of this kind.
Okay, council. Any questions about the contract before you and the negotiation for this property? Okay, Councilman Fields.
No question, just comment, if I may.
Yes, sir.
This is a great asset that we're getting ready to embark upon for the town. I remember years ago we had the discussion whether this piece of property was in the town or not. I kept telling everybody, got to follow the creek line. Even though the county owned it, it still belonged in the town. So it's clearly ours to obtain and ours to maintain, if we finish this acquisition. This building I've been in many a times during my time as a police officer for the town, and it is great for all types of uses. The sky's the limit for this piece of property. The sky's the limit. It's a beautiful building. It had previously been very well maintained, far as I know. So I only see great things coming from this and to the community, especially in that part of town, the townhome community for the Dumfries and beyond. We can reach out to, the county is right on the other side of the creek line there, that we can provide for the whole entire Dumfries Triangle area. So it's an asset. It's great. Thank you, Kiefer, and your staff for doing a great job in obtaining this.
So let me just make sure before I say anything. Was there any more questions or comments about this? All right. So the 45-day period, that will still allow us to close in this current fiscal year.
Yes.
And so we'll be able to start the kickoff. And this is just because I just want to bridge the previous conversation to this conversation. And we'll be able to kick off programs possibly in this fiscal year in there, as far as the vaccines, as far as possibly broadband assistance, possibly the food desert type programs, being able to start the farmers market. We'll be able to do that within this fiscal year.
Yes, that is the plan.
Okay.
The plan is to utilize it for those approved uses for federal assistance as quickly as possible.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Ms. Pandak.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, I think what Mr. Rogers has said is accurate and optimistic. It may be that the slowest thing with respect to getting to settlement on this property is getting the title work done and because of the boom in real estate right now. We've got somebody already lined up to start this, but it's going to be a solid 3 weeks, I think, just to get the title work done. So that will be started at the same time as the due diligence process, based
Okay.
on the discussions I've had with Mr. Rogers so far to date in terms of what he expects to get out of the property during the due diligence process. I think we can go ahead and start the title work.
Okay.
It's going to be, that's going to be the race to the end of this fiscal year.
Will we also do a reserve study on this property just to see? I don't know if we're doing an appraisal or like what would be equivalent to like a home inspection to see also the condition. Is that part of this 45-day process?
Yes, we would do building and site inspection. Yes, sir.
Okay, but what about a reserve study?
That would be part of the inspection services.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, great. Well, then I don't have any further questions. Do we have to have a public hearing at this time?
You do not have to have a public hearing.
Okay.
You can open up for comments if you want, but there's no requirement when you're buying property.
Okay. Okay, council, is there any other things that you have at this time? How did Councilman Pete continue to get out in the audience? Why is he out in the audience? Pete, come on, get in here. Come up to the dais. I don't know why he went to sit out there. Why'd you go sit out there? All right. You got to get the right link. Okay. Councilman Pete, did you have anything? Because I didn't see if your hand was up anything during that time.
Oh, not at all. I was listening, but I wasn't tapped into. But no, not at all.
Okay. All right. So, okay, we're looking for a motion to approve this contract.
Make a motion that we approve said contract presented by Mr. Rogers.
Second.
Second.
Okay. I'm trying to get back to the top of the agenda. All right, so there's a motion for the resolution to authorize the town manager to execute purchase agreement for real property at 3800 Grand Park Road. On a motion made by Councilman Fields. Who did the second come from?
Everybody.
The entire council. We'll take Councilwoman Miles. Second that. All right, seeing no further discussion. I think this is great for whatever the federal allows us to use it for, but I'm excited to be able to see us to be able to bring services in a high dense community over there where, as Councilwoman DeVille said earlier, there is definitely a food desert. There is a shortage of high quality food in this community, in this area, as compared to other communities around the county. And so for us as a council to be able to acquire this, to bring these type of services far, as well as to be able to test for COVID-19, as well as to be able to administer vaccines, I think this council is doing an astounding work in bringing these type of service and having this type of vision and magnitude to bring it to the council. So I'm excited to vote in favor of this when I call for the question here. All right, any other discussion here? All right, seeing none, I'm going to call for the question. The motion was made by Councilman Fields. It was seconded by Councilwoman Miles. Councilman Pete.
Yes, you had said something about the homeless shelter. Well,
No, I said nothing about that. Those words never came out of my mouth, sir.
Okay. Just making sure we clear.
Resolution to authorize the town manager to execute a purchase agreement for 3800 Grand Park Road. Yes, yes. Okay, Councilwoman DeVille.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Yes.
Councilwoman Miles.
Aye.
Councilman Fields, did I get you?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
And that's a yes for me. The motion carries unanimously 7-0. All right, congratulations, council. We're expanding the town's portfolio. All right. Next on the agenda, we're going to go into a closed session about concerning the appointment of a clerk to the governing body pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711 Alpha 1. All right, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Councilman Pete. Any discussion on the motion and what we're going to talk about? Seeing none. Councilwoman Miles,
Aye.
Councilman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Fields,
Yes.
Councilman Pete,
Yes.
Councilwoman DeVille,
Aye.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was muted.
All right, yes for me.